made some noise recently. Like Drake came to one of your show recently. Was that your first time meeting Drake? And what was it like just to have someone of his stature come into show support for your career?
Very beloved that like a guy that big, took his time to come to the city and see what I got going on. And he was very sincere about like that, or very adamant about like watching my whole set. Then while we do the raffle part, we'll get him around and get into the green room, but he was like, no, I want to stay in. Like he's standing by the door. He's like, I want to watch the whole thing, man. I'm here.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's and that's where and he came to the Danforth. Like that's where I grew up. I grew up on like the border of Scarborough in East York. So like he literally just came to my ends, which was like very beloved, I'd say.
Yes, so this is your boy Kevin Bourne, also known as KB the Boss Shifter, and I'm here with one of the rising comedic talents here in the city of Toronto. He is a Scarborough native. He is one of the co-stars of Office Movers. He is one of TikTok's one of the black TikTok voices to watch for 2025. We're talking to Hassan Phills. Thank you so much for joining me, man.
Pleasure for thank you for having me. How are you?
No, no problem, no problem. I've been hearing a lot about you, man. You're one of those names that's kind of like, been buzzing around Toronto, just. So you've been doing great things, man.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad it's all being like well received.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're gonna get into the career and all that kind of stuff, everything you've accomplished. But first, you're on this Black TikTok Voices to Watch list. Like, what was the reaction when you got on the list? Like, what does that mean to you as a comedian?
To be honest, I thought it was just pretty. It just kind of came out of nowhere. I'm just happy to be on the list. And to be thought of a creative in general, but also like a black one. Maybe it's significantly impactful to people who look like me or come from where I come from. But in my mind, I've just really thought I'm like, oh, okay, shit, I'm doing some dope shit. Sorry, I'm not.
No, that's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm doing something dope. So I hope not only do black people or black youth especially find it something that they can coincide with, but in general, I love to appeal to the masses. So,
So going back, like when did you first realize like, yo, I'm funny and I like to make people laugh? Like when did that click for you, like that realization?
like even when I was younger, I just like to laugh a lot more. I like laughing. I like stories, and even if like kind of laughing is kind of like music to me in the sense that like even if it's a great song, I'm gonna listen to it. Like I'm gonna beat it to death. I'm gonna play it on repeat like nobody. Even if it's a great joke, I want to hear it so I can just laugh again. I had like a cousin that was very funny, and he used to do all sorts of like funny things. But just do it one more time, just do it, and I laugh again. So I get more of a kick out of from laughing, and and then I was like, oh, okay, let me see if I can make people laugh, and then it just kind of, I guess, it ended up happening, and yeah, I just tried to like personality. I think my personality and charisma.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I think a lot of comedians are like that. Where they just kind of make themselves like they sometimes tend to make themselves laugh, and then it's like, okay, let me invite everybody else into like this ongoing joke that I kind of have going with myself.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's what like a true artist really is. You tell me like I'm not gonna make something for you. I'm gonna make something that I really like, and then uh, and if I like it, you'll like it. And that's like the tastemaker type energy.
Hmm. Like who are those people like this, aside from your cousin, like who are those people that you kind of grew up to found funny, who maybe inspired you to say, yo, let me jump in and do this comedy thing.
Man, yeah, I had family members, my cousins, my friends. Like I think every comic has at least like four friends that are way funnier than them. They just don't do stand-up comedy. And you live in Toronto, you grow up in community housing or flipping or even go to Toronto District School Board, you're gonna meet many characters that are like that. And then yeah, I feel like I embody a lot of those guys, but I'm just and a lot of people have friends like that, but I just happen to be the one that's doing stand-up comedy. So it's up for me. So I like it. And that's what I enjoy.
Hmm. And when did acting get in the mix? Because you did Office Movers. Was acting always kind of like something you've always done, or was this like a new experience for you?
Acting is something I always wanted to do, like in high school. Like in high school, I really wanted to go to like Wexford Collegiate and just like pick up the arts and stuff like that. But I really had like I had aspirations with basketball too, and so I wanted to be like the hood Troy Bolton, to be honest. You know what I mean? And yeah, it just wasn't in the cards. I think I fell in love with basketball a lot more, so I was able to put acting on the back burner. Um, but then as I started doing stand up a bit more, I realized like, oh, I really love stand up, and the internet is so accessible. You can make your own. You can become an actor through like doing your own sketches or whatever. And the internet kind of allowed me to kind of learn how to be myself first, then as opposed to playing a character that somebody else has written. And that's kind of like my lane too in comedy. I kind of like found my voice, still finding it, you know, as time progresses, as but like acting is a little bit more of like a challenge, and I'm still very new to it, figuring it out. But with Office Movers, they really just allowed me to be myself, which is super lit.
hmm We interviewed Jay and Trey, and they really had a lot of kind of like praise for some of the other actors and comedians, especially yourself. They're like, like, we asked them like why they chose like you and some of the other people, and they really had a lot of good things to say about you.
Like they were helping us out. Like we wanted to make a funny show, dog. You're so funny in your way, and like you're this character. You work perfectly in this. So like they're helping us out just as much, man. So it was a relief, man. It felt good to just put them on screen and just fucking be behind the camera laughing, man. Because yeah, they're great at what they do, man.
When you see someone that's you're that person. Like Hassan is that person.
His name is literally Hassan in the show. Like you can't. We had no other name for him.
What is this guy's name? Like, yo, you're just
It's
Hassan,
Hassan, bro.
Like, what was that experience like? Like, what was it like on set? Like, what was it like just kind of working with your guys and creating a show together?
It was very raw. Like I think like if people were able to be like flies on the wall for the making of the show, it would be more entertaining than the actual show itself, to be honest. And that's how like that's a testament to all the characters, the crew, and the work that they kind of put into it. Like I myself, like I've been fans of Trey J, still fans to this day, but now friends of them since high school. So like when I finally met them, not on set, I had done their podcast, the Random Order podcast, like maybe 2 years prior, and it was just like, oh, I just like reconnected with a bunch of my friends that I haven't seen in a hot minute, but it was literally our first time hanging out. So initially, like, you know, the vibe, we were on the same Wi-Fi essentially. So but yeah, being on set with those guys, it just made it mesh. Like we same sense of humor, same language, yeah, palette. It's dope.
Mm-hmm. Now let's move on to talk about Scarborough a little bit because like I'm new to I grew up in the West End. I live in Scarborough now the past few years. Scarborough is an interesting. Like I've never there's no part of Toronto that has its own distinct culture, distinct like identity. When I see people from Scarborough, whether like perform in other cities, they're always like, "Hey, my name is so so. I'm from Scarborough." They don't say, "Hey, I'm from Toronto." They're like, "Hey, I'm from Scarborough." Like, what's it about? Like, what makes like what like Scarborough's that such a this distinct group like grouping that's so different than any other part of Toronto?
It's massive, man. It's massive, and I think like it's in comparison to the West End has so many pockets, right? Where like you could like the West End is so big, but there's still so many pockets. There's like little Jamaica, and then there's like Portugal, or like even like and what's a Tobaco? Is a Tobaco messing into like the West End of downtown, or is the where does the North happen? But whereas Scarborough is like it's just a big border, and it's a chunk of it. And it's like you can get caught up in like I guess like the metropolitan area of Scarborough, but then there's also a massive suburban part. But like the high school aspect of it is like there's so many high schools in that area in within that region. Like you're gonna get to know everybody through just public transit, through parties, through functions, the mall being like a staple, you know. I remember like making like it for but the one thing that we do have in common with the West End is like making your way downtown was like a really big deal, you know? Growing up in the West End, am I not wrong? Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
sure, yeah.
Like to go all the way to be from the West and then make it all the way down to the downtown, you'd be like, holy shit, this is crazy. You know, maybe now it's a lot different, you know, for the younger people growing up, but just like, holy shit, I just like I'm all the way in Young Street now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. And then my family are all like, we're not coming to visit you, man. Like, you're too far. With
Yeah,
Scarborough, it's always like, if I gotta see my family, I gotta trek to the west. They're like, nah, we're not coming out there. Sorry, man.
yeah. The West End is like, especially if you're like in the Northwest, like the cool thing about Scarborough is that at least like, and it's kind of the same for the West End. Like when you get to Scarborough, more times like there's a train station somewhere nearby, and you might most likely have to take one bus, and then you can get to that train station, and then you're good. Whereas the West End, you
That's
gotta
true.
take a train, and then a bus, and then a transfer to get to like to these like in the cut places.
Yeah.
I remember I missioned all the way to Sivu Play. Remember Sivu Play in the West End?
Where was
Like
he?
Steels and
Okay,
Eglin, Islip
okay,
Steels or something like that.
yeah.
And I was like, yo, I can't believe I just took three, like I used this transfer three times to
Yeah.
get here. I don't
It's
know.
true. Why do you think, like, it's obviously like Toronto's Scarborough's produced a lot of celebrities, like, the Jim Carreys, the Mike Myers, the Lily Sings, the Weekends. Like, do you feel like there's something as to why Scarborough seems to produce, like, the top talent who've become superstars tend to be from Scarborough?
I think it's like it might be a poise, you know, like they have like this, this comfortability and like their identity per se. Like it's like, uh, yeah, you kind of, it's on your chest being from Scarborough, like, oh, from Scarborough. And then, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I think it's just poise. Not to say that the West End doesn't or other parts of Toronto don't have it. I think they just have it in a different way, you
Hmm.
know? That's it, really.
Okay. Now let's pivot a bit because one of your you made some noise recently. Like, Drake came to one of your show recently. Was that your first time meeting Drake? And what was it like just to have someone of his stature come in to show support for your career?
Oh man, it was very beloved, you know, to be honest. Like I do shows all the time, and you know, I think like Toronto might have like a way of like inviting people or sending people invitations to things, but I was just like, yo, brother, pull up, man. And he was like, yeah, I'm down. And I think it's just like more of like it's very beloved that like a guy that big, you know, took his time to come to the city and see what I got going on. And he was very sincere about like that, or very adamant about like watching my whole set. Like he was about maybe like 20 minutes late, 30 minutes late. And he messaged my manager saying like, yo, can you post like can you make him wait until I get there? I want to watch his whole set. You
Crazy.
know what I mean? And
That's
that's like,
crazy.
yeah, that's very beloved. And he stayed for the whole set. Even at one point, I was doing like a raffle at the end of the show, and it was kind of like, it was. I mean, I do this off the rip. I wanted to show some love to the people that came out to support. We're doing like a raffle for Muslim Welfare Canada. We gave away like air wraps or Raptors tickets, donated money in people's names and everything like that. And we kind of like thought like, oh, you know, while we do the raffle part, you know, we'll get him around and get into the green room. But he was like, no, 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 I want to stay in. Like he's standing by the door. He's like, no, I want to watch the whole thing, man. I'm here.
That's
This.
crazy.
Yeah, so it's and that's where and he came to the Danforth. Like that's where I grew up. I grew up on like the border of Scarborough in East York. So like he literally just came to my ends, which was like very beloved, I'd say.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Um, Now let's I just piggyback on that. Like, I talk to people in a lot of different industries. It's just about the support that they feel or don't feel for like creatives in Toronto. Like, do you feel like, generally speaking, that Toronto does a good job of supporting its talent, or do you feel like there's some areas where we need to like improve when it comes to supporting, like whether it's comedians, musicians, all that?
Um, I think the support comes from like the of the approach of the producer, the artist, and I mean you're in control of that. And I think like I myself, I've taken like I take a lot of pride in like how people approach or like convey my art. I don't share it in a specific. I share it in a specific way. My approach to it is like my mentality towards it is really like, I noticed very early on, a lot of comedians were like, yo, what does it take to make it out of Canada? Like, that's in every
Mm.
artistry in Canadian things, that everybody's goal is to make it out, you know? And I think like I think the hardest thing to do is make it where you're from. So my
That's true.
goal this whole time was to make it in Toronto so I could go everywhere else. So I could have that poise I'm talking about. Because there's times like I've traveled and I've done gigs in I've done gigs in America, I've done gigs in Europe, I've done gigs in the Middle East, and it's pretty evident that I'm like, when you talk to me, I sound like I'm from Toronto, and so in that, having that voice, I'll be like, yeah, I'm from Toronto, and imagine if you're good someplace else in a place that you're not even from,
Mm.
you know, and you're not even good like where your home is, and that's kind of like seems just off to me. It doesn't make any sense. So
Mm.
my goal has always been to like take care of where I'm, take care of home.
That's good. Before we go, I just want to talk about it's interesting just your actual ethnic background. Like you're half from Djibouti, half Jamaican. I find it
Mm-hmm.
so interesting. Like, it's like you kind of span two sides of the diaspora. What's that like? Just kind of sitting in that middle ground between like Africa and the Caribbean, and like, do you feel like there's things that those two groups kind of just could learn from each other?
There, it's very similar. I think like there's a pride. There is there's a pride, but the great thing is like they both cultures have allowed me to like really be um to grasp an understanding of my own identity, and that I am from Toronto, and also like my religion is completely different from both of these cultures.
Mm,
So
mm,
it's allowed me to kind of figure out, okay, this is my culture, this is my religion, this is my environment, you know, and like it's even though they're both very similar, but they're still very different. So I just kind of like I I'm able to really latch onto like the pillars of that
mm.
of my identity. So no, to me.
Are you like a Drake in the Djibouti community? Are you like the are you like are you like the with
The East African. I'm like the crazy thing is that like even though I'm from like my family heritagely,
Mhm.
they're from Djibouti, but from my family's nationality, we are from Djibouti. Like I have about like 4 or 5 generations from Djibouti, but like ethnically, like I'm a mix of everything, like Somali, Ethiopian, and Eritrean, and then the Jamaican side is just pretty much most of my pops, all my pops. That's actually so funny because we were talking about the difference from the East End and the West End. All my Jamaican side of my family is in the West End, and then all my East African family is in the East. And I rarely go to the West because it's just so deep.
Yeah. That's cool. That's interesting. So, no, before we go, we have a few minutes left. Like, where do you kind of see yourself? Like, where do you see this career of yours going? Like, what's the aspiration for you in the next few years?
Honestly, just be as present as possible. I'm not in any rush to kind of like blow up and do things like I'm enjoying every step of the way. At points like because I don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss like I don't want to get too ahead of myself and like kind of forget like what a moment felt like. And so at this moment, I'm kind of like I'm grateful for like all the things. I'm just like taking the risk. I have a great team around me. I have great friends. And I think like where it will go is as far as like as it'll go as well as I nurture what I have going for me right now, which is sleep. Try to focus on my sleep, my creativity, my process, my family, and my time, my time.
That's
So I
good.
don't know where exactly it'll take me, but
Yeah.
like I would love to do things like more TV shows, more movies, more stand-up comedy. I want to make a special one day, but it all it'll just take time.
Yeah. I heard Kevin Hart say that, when you're doing stuff like this in the public light, you need to learn how to like press pause and press record to kind of like take in a moment. Because he said there's whole parts of his career he doesn't even remember anymore because he just kind of, it was so fast. So he was encouraging, and he's like, you need to learn how to press pause and press record and just kind of like take in the moment so that, years later you can look back and be like, I was present, in that moment. So,
So true. Because like I think like yeah, especially in the last like 2 years, I just like put my like when you're swimming and you like yo, you go underwater and you want to see like how far could I get while I'm swimming underwater, and you do that with work and with your journey, and you're like holy shit, how far did I get? Like I don't even see the shore anymore, And then you don't even remember how you got there, but you're just like because my head was down the whole now, how do I even get back? Which direction did I even go? And so like as I'm doing it, because I've done it before, 2 years, I just put my head down and I just want to be able to like look up and like, okay, cool. Okay, good.
mhm.
That's,
Cool. That's good. That's good. Well, thank you so much for your time, man. Thank you for making time for this, and congratulations on being just acknowledged by TikTok, the role in Office Movers and everything else. Just everything else that you have going on, and everything that we kind of look forward to just seeing you do. Congratulations on everything.
thank you.
The hardest part is just starting, man, and then obviously just maintaining, and you're doing that. So,
Thank you.
congrats, man.
I appreciate it.